Hey guys, welcome to the Problems from Your Past lesson. We're going to dive deeper into something that we've already talked a little bit about, which is how to think about your past so that you can support the future that you want to design. When I'm talking about problems from your past, I'm talking about anything. It can be last year, last month, 5 minutes ago. It can be from your childhood. Anything that has already happened is from your past. Remember, problems from your past are just thoughts about your past in your head. Okay? The past is over, and now you have all of these thoughts about it. That is what exists right now, today. The actual event does not exist anymore. The story you tell about your past is going to determine the actions and results that you have in your future. So it's super important that you acknowledge that you have a choice about what kind of story you want to tell. There's lots of different ways you could tell the same events that took place. The way that you frame your story is going to determine the action and results you take in the future. Let's look at a couple examples. Let's say you grew up with an alcoholic father. In your teens and early 20s, you dated people who you had to take care of because that was your role in your family, and that's often what people do. They seek partners where they kind of live out their family role. So you sought out, losers. You continued to date men who needed to be mothered because that's what you were most comfortable with. You grew up in the family role of kind of mothering. So you date men who need to be mothered. You make growing up with an alcoholic father mean that you always date losers. So you start to take this personally and think that, oh my gosh, you just always date losers. Now let's take the same story or the same circumstances and let's turn it into a different story. In your teens and 20s, you dated people who you did have to take care of, but you know that that's just what happened in your past and that you got to learn and grow so much from that, and it happened how it was supposed to happen so that you could become who you are today. Now that you've kind of retrained your brain and you're attracted to amazing men, you don't make growing up with an alcoholic father mean anything about your choice in men. Okay? There's actually nothing from your past that comes with you to choose who you date or to choose what kind of job you have or to choose what kind of money you make. It's all just belief systems that you have. It's thoughts about your past. It's the story that you're continuing to tell, which will create the results in your future. When you have past-focused problems, you limit your potential by what has happened in the past. So you basically believe that your life has happened to you and not for you. And this is, again, the victim mentality. If bad things happen to you, you can basically find a way to think differently about them so that they happened for you, so that you don't recreate the bad in your future. Okay? What we see so often is that, someone had abuse in their life in childhood and they recreate the bad in the future. But you don't have to do that. You really don't. It's a choice. When you give yourself excuses for current actions and results based on your past, you're living in the past, and that's not good because you're going to create your future from your past based on what's already happened, which by definition means that you're not going to be designing your dream life. You probably beat yourself up about your past, and when you do this, you just recreate it. I want you to just accept your past. I don't want you to fight it, because when you fight with your past, you lose. As like Byron Katie says, you lose, but only 100% of the time, okay? It's done. We know that it happened the way it was supposed to. How do we know? Because it happened that way. I love that saying. It's beautiful. You can use your past to learn and grow. I don't want you to ignore it. I don't want you to hide from it. I want you to acknowledge it, and I want you to decide to tell the most supportive story you possibly can about what it makes possible for you to move on in the future. I don't want you to let your past limit you. This is a big difference between therapy and life coaching. Therapy is very past focused and it's super useful. I've done therapy before. I highly recommend it, especially if you need it. But once you have your therapy all done and whatever, life coaching is so much better in my opinion, because it gets at the fun stuff. So once you've kind of taken care of your past stuff in therapy, you can use life coaching to design your future. Truly, when I stopped beating myself up about my past and decided to create new results in my future, my life just changed. I mean, within a 2-week period, I would say my life was unrecognizable. Like, that is how fast you can get results if you really adopt this stuff. It's so good. I get so excited about it, if you can't tell. I want you to, instead of defining yourself by your past, I want you to design yourself by your future. Now, it's harder to do because your brain doesn't have anything to pull from, but if you're intentional about it, you can do this. If you define yourself by your past, that's what you're going to create. You know this person in your life who just continuously is dating losers, and you're like, why does she keep dating guys like this? Or someone who stays in a relationship that's abusive, or something else, and you just wonder, you're like, why does that person do that? It makes no sense to me. Like, I would never do that. Well, it's because to their brain, that is what makes sense, because that's what they've always known. And when you actually start to really learn this and accept it, you can kind of be a little bit more forgiving to people who, maybe you are a little bit tougher on. It's just their brains. That's all they know. You can create new results when you define yourself by your future. Okay. And you know this because you're constantly reinventing yourself when you do this. I am proud of the fact that I'm pretty much unrecognizable, and I continue to redefine who I am based on what I want for myself in the future. So how do you do this? You have to have new thoughts and new belief systems, because it's your old thought patterns that are being repeated and giving you the same results. So you have to learn how to think and believe new things. And yes, it takes a lot of energy, but it's so worth it. You can grow and evolve into whoever you want. And when I learned this, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I just started making up things I wanted. Like, truly to manifest in my life, because I knew that the new thoughts and beliefs I could create for my future, like just based on anything. I just felt so freed almost instantly from my past. I mean, it was just beautiful. You'll know if you're doing this right because you'll constantly have new results in your life. If you have the same results year after year after year, you're thinking the same thoughts. So, in summary, your past only exists in your head. Your past is done. It's over. All that is left are the thoughts about your past. How you retell the events says more about your future than it does about the actual events from your past. Okay? The key is to tell a story that supports where you're going. Remember, your past happened for you, not to you. And I'll leave you with that.